Hi everyone, my name is Shree Rome. Welcome to part 2 of the mental health series. In the first episode, I talked about just a little story about my experience being injured, tearing my ACL, and kind of the stresses that came with it that might seem minor to the outside world, but is different when you're actually going through it. And with that, with all the stressors that new stressors that I experienced, I realized that I wasn't okay. And in this episode, I want to talk about how it's okay to not be okay, whether it's a new injury, whether it's just something that you're experiencing in your life that's different. We're also going to go through some tips to help maneuver through your depression and hopefully pull you out of it. So, for me, in the last episode, I talked about how I felt alone when I was injured because I would express how I felt to people and I felt like I was over exaggerating. And in the midst of me feeling like I was over exaggerating to people around me, I had thoughts of suicidal ideation, which is very hard for me to talk about because I've never had that before. And that's when I knew that was like a red flag waving in my brain, like, yo, we need to get you together, Sheree. We need to get you together. And I'm going to talk about how I got me together, or at least how I'm in the process of healing and still getting me together. Another thing that I experienced was panic attacks. I've never had a serious panic attack before. Actually, it was the day that I found out that I tore my ACL. I was actually getting ready to get in the shower and I just happened to look down at my knee and something about it just rushed all these thoughts into my brain and I could not breathe. I felt like I was suffocating. I started seeing spots and I was like, okay, Sheree, you need to get you together because something is going on. Luckily, I was able to call one of my friends to try to come over because I thought I was going to die. I thought I was at least going to pass out. That's how bad it was. But thankfully, I didn't pass out. I knew that I needed to ground myself in some way. So what I did was I sat in the hallway on my carpet floor. Like, I just sat in the hallway and just put my hands on the carpet and just sat there. It was just like breathing, focusing on my breathing, focusing on trying to get grounded and trying to come back to reality because I knew I was off. After a couple minutes, I was able to snap myself out of it and call my friend and tell her, like, hey, I'm good. But one thing I would suggest if you think you're having a panic attack is find something that's going to try to snap you back into reality, whether that's, for me, sitting in the middle of the floor, touching the carpet floor, or spraying water on something that's going to help you focus on something else. Nothing crazy, but something as simple as let me sit down on a cold floor or let me do something that's going to help me focus on my breathing. And just being aware of how you feel in those moments, just being aware of the moments when you are really stressed out, when your body's tensing up or when your mind is going crazy and you start doing that heavy breathing again. Just being cautious and being present in the moment, but also taking the opportunity to feel your feelings. Because a lot of times I think as individuals, at least for me, I always try to find a way to get out of feeling those feelings or feeling that stress or feeling that anger or sadness when sometimes we just have to sit in our like literally just sit in it, accept it, and honestly understand that this is what my body is temporarily going through, but it's not going to last forever. But there's something about sitting through your feelings that helps you grow, because a lot of times people are afraid to face those feelings. So we focus on other things to try to take our mind off of feeling that hurt, feeling that pain, when in reality, we're supposed to feel that. How are you going to know what it's going to feel like if you don't? How are you going to know what it's like to move past it if you don't allow yourself the opportunity to just feel it. Feel it. Don't be bitter, but sit in your and really be present in the moment when it happens. Also, it's okay to cry. If you are feeling those feelings and you're just like, hey, like, I just need to cry, I just need to let it out, let it out. It's okay to cry. I know in the Black culture, we have this unwritten rule that you're weak if you cry. You're not weak if you cry. You're actually a strong individual if you allow yourself to cry, because you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable with yourself, whether there's people in the room or whether it's not. I just got to the point where I started crying in front of other people. And I hate crying, but I learned that I have to. In this moment, in this process, whatever I'm feeling in that moment, if I feel like crying, I'm going to cry, bro. I'm going to cry. Crying is temporary. You feel your feelings and you keep it moving. But it is okay to cry. When I found out I tore my ACL, I cried for 4 days straight. But what I did do was I had a conversation with myself and I said, okay, Sheree, you're going to feel your feelings, but I would suggest giving yourself a time limit. What I mean by that is giving yourself a time limit to soak in your feelings, because ultimately it's not realistic to be depressed all day, every day. And one thing that I don't like to do is be a victim to my circumstances. So I give myself a time limit. I said, okay, we're going to cry for 4 days straight. We're going to sit on the couch with my dog. We're going to watch Netflix, whatever we need to do for 4 days straight. And I did that. But I told myself after that fourth day, we're going to figure out how to get back to being you. And that's what I did. Give yourself a time limit for being in your feelings. Another thing I would suggest is unplug. I unplugged from social media. And because social media is a little addicting, I'm not saying completely just get it out your system, but I would give myself a time limit on social media. I would go on there, I'd maybe do like 1, 2, 3, 4 scrolls. And I was like, all right, I'm out. Whatever I saw in those 4 scrolls is what I saw. People would be like, oh, you didn't see my post? No, I didn't. And again, you don't have to make an announcement on social media. You don't have to do any of that, because all of this is for you. It's for you. I didn't make an announcement about me staying off of social media. For what? It's not about you. It's about me. And not only that, I also knew that at the time, seeing dance videos was depressing for me, because I knew that I couldn't be a part of it. I knew that I didn't have the option of deciding whether I wanted to go to a dance class or not, or even just creating. I didn't have that option at the time, and it really bothered me. Not on no hating, but just on some, I just can't do that right now. And that is something that I thoroughly enjoy, and unfortunately that's just not where I'm at. And sometimes seeing other people happy can make you more depressing when you're already depressed. So that was the reason why I stayed off social media for a while. At least I gave myself a time limit. And honestly, being away from social media was kind of nice, because it forces you to be present in your life. It forces you to be, again, present in the moment and accepting where you are and just doing other things that you didn't do before. So unplug from social media is a great suggestion that I would recommend. Your circle is very important when you are depressed. And when I say your circle, I mean friends and your family. And also in the midst of me being under the radar, off the radar, is I definitely paid attention to who I kept in my circle, who I kept around me. Because it says a lot. When I'm not out in the scene anymore, I'm not in these dance classes, people started to disappear. My phone wasn't ringing like that. My Instagram wasn't popping like that anymore. But at the same time, I also had those friends that still called me, that still checked on me, that wanted to make sure I was okay. And that meant a lot to me, because it kept my acquaintances separated, and then it brought forward my real friends and my family members that I really rock with. So it was a great thing. And that can also be depressing too, because you might think that a certain person or certain people might be your friends, but they're really not. The reality is, for me, I know who only converse with me or entertain me because they felt like I could take them to places that they wanted to go, when in reality, no, that wasn't true. And it's just interesting to see that dynamic come forward full fold. So learn how to separate your acquaintances, your real friends, and your family members. Not only that, once my friends and family members started finding out that I was injured, I also learned about some family members that were also injured. And it was nice because they understood where I was coming from. They understood why I was depressed. They even admitted to me how depressing it was before I even said I was depressed. And these are men. And not only that, it was nice for me because I was able to be honest about my suicidal thoughts. And I am the type of person who likes to have people around me that are very honest. And when I told one of my cousins my thought about attempting suicide, he told me, if you were successful, I would have whooped your spirits. It's not funny, but it's funny for me because the way that he said, he was very serious, one, when he said it, but also it was just a reminder of the fact that I have people that love me. I have people that care about me. And the fact, and it, in a way, it kind of made me feel a little stupid because I was like, dang, imagine how many people would be so sad because you weren't able to handle your depression. And this isn't to knock anyone who may have or may have known someone who attempted suicide or successfully attempted suicide, but that's just how I felt. And honestly, having those thoughts, I feel like I had those thoughts because I really couldn't handle it. And most importantly, I didn't know how to handle it, and everyone around me made me feel like I was weak or they didn't understand. So it's just something to be very, very mindful, and also know that suicidal thoughts are very, very serious. So if you know someone that is coming to you with those thoughts, please take it serious. Don't tell them, oh, pull your panties out, pull your pants. No, take it serious. Especially if it's coming from someone that doesn't usually use that language. Take it serious. As an individual having those thoughts, please take it serious for yourself, and please get the help that you need.